Hey, everybody, and welcome to our Motivation Monday podcast for August 21st, 2017. So, today we're going to take a quick listen to an interview that I've been checking out this week. Really getting into this interview because I feel like it has so much value in it, and all of you guys out there should check it out. The New York University Steinhardt School of Music has an awesome interview series on YouTube where they have some really world class musicians that come on stage, they play a tune, and then they sit down with the head of the department and they have about an hour conversation. And it's just really well done. They have, really nice quality video, really nice quality audio, and it's a really intimate conversation with, some of my favorite musicians, and I'm sure some of you guys out there, it'll also jive with some of your favorite musicians as well. So this week I've been checking out the interview with Joe Lovano, and really just like listening to it and re-listening to it, trying to get to the meat of a lot of what Joe is kind of talking about in this interview. So I wanted to play a little bit of a clip of this interview and then talk about it for a minute. Here's the clip.
At some point, you pick your horn up like this, and then all of a sudden, this flow of music comes out of you. What are you thinking of at this time? Because it's like at this point, you flip the switch and you're gone.
I'm really listening more than just thinking. I'm listening to what's going on around me. I'm being driven by, in this case, a great Joey Barron on drums, who's one of the most creative improvisers.
So the thing that I wanted to talk about from this clip, I won't go any further, but you should definitely check out the whole conversation because it's just filled with amazing, amazing sort of advice and thoughts from Joe Lovano. But think about what he's saying here, right? The first thing he says is that he's not really thinking about what he's doing, he's just listening. And that is really the essence of playing jazz at the highest level, right? You spend all this time in the practice room thinking, thinking, and then when you're finally on stage, you really shouldn't be thinking anymore. And that's really the point of spending all those hours on your instrument thinking as hard as possible until your brain hurts, right? Is that when you're finally in the act of playing music for an audience with a band, you can just kind of let go and fall back on your skills as a musician. And one of the biggest skills that you could develop when you're a jazz musician is having really great ears and being able to make sense of what's going on around you, right? And you can tell when you listen to Joe Lovano play the saxophone or any instrument that he's playing that it's just one of the most natural sounding things that I've ever heard in my life. And I'm sure he practices in this way. In fact, I've heard many other interviews with him where he talks about some of his practice stuff, and it's it's not very cerebral. It's very, I guess some of you would call it sort of out there, right? But really, it's not that out there. He's really trying to get down on melodic ideas. He's all about playing melodies, and he's really all about just listening to what's going on around him. In fact, I heard an interview with him once where he was out at his house on Long Island, and he said he likes to just walk out into the backyard and listen to the sounds of his backyard. So whether that be birds chirping or the wind blowing or whatever's happening around him. So I think this is something that some of us should think about, because I think a lot of us get so caught up in the technical aspect of music that sometimes when we get on stage, we're really only thinking about our own stuff, and we're really not thinking about, or not thinking as much as we should, about the stuff that's going on around us, and really being tuned into the rest of the ensemble and making it an interactive thing instead of this is my stuff, this is what I'm going to play, I'm only going to think about myself, right? You can't only be thinking about yourself if you want to make great music, because jazz is the most interactive form of music that we have out there. So you need to be listening to what's going on around you. Another interesting thing that he said is he mentioned his drummer by name, right? He mentioned it. And that's really amazing, because I know for a fact that Joe Lovano, he really thinks very, very hard about the ensembles that he's putting together, about the people that he's playing with, because he wants a very specific kind of sound. And the fact that he's so tuned into the other musicians in his ensemble means that when he's going to choose a band for a new project and he thinks about the kind of sound he wants it to have, the kind of feel that he's going to have on stage, that kind of thing, he's really thinking about those other players. So again, he's getting outside of himself and he's thinking about who am I going to surround myself with to get the kind of collective sound that I want, right? Now, Joe Lovano is somebody that plays music on the highest level possible. So you really need to think about what these guys are saying because it can really make you think about what you're doing in a completely different way, right? But I just wanted to say that. So when you're on stage, stop thinking, start listening, because that's really going to get you to that next level. Now you got to take care of business first, right? Last week we talked about that ear training app and ear training in general. That's going to be your best friend when it comes to all this stuff that Lovano's talking about on here. You need to have those ears very developed so that when you hear something going on from your fellow musicians, you can actually react to it instead of kind of not knowing what's going on and or being confused or not being able to hear what's going on. You need to get those ears in gear, right? You really, really need to do that. So get on those ear training apps I was talking about. There's tons of them out there. So I did realize that the ear training app that I was talking about last week is only for iOS, but I guarantee you that there's other awesome ear training apps out there, no matter what kind of smartphone or tablet or operating system you have. So get your ears together. Stop thinking, start listening, start reacting. Try to let go a little bit this week. If you've got a session or a band that you're playing with, really consciously try to clear your mind and let whatever is going to happen, happen. If it sounds bad, so what? Nobody's even going to know, all right? If it sounds good, more power to you. But the more that you do this, the better you're going to get at playing this music that we call jazz. All right, we'll see you later on in the week for our regularly scheduled programming. Have an awesome and inspired week. Get out there and practice, get out there and play, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one, everybody.